We should probably go through the super chats that have come in that we haven't spoken to. And then we'll move on to Pandaria.
Pandaria?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because we...
Oh, no, don't tell me there's more.
We can do it reasonably quickly, but
Okay, we have to do this now.
This leads directly into our next topic, which is Pandaria. More specifically, exploring Pandaria and how POVs and attention to detail and stuff.
Okay. Okay, right. Let's do this. Sorry, I read a tweet. I read a tweet that's in this.
To live is to suffer.
Very
we
pretty.
Suffer well.
But lore inconsistencies yet again. Really? How do they do this? Okay.
Yep.
So we've got here somebody highlighting this page. The Veil of Eternal Blossoms. The Veil of Eternal Blossoms is in many ways the heart of Pandaria, the place from which life and magic flows. We know, thanks to the lore walkers, that in the distant past it was created by the keeper Freya to be a cradle of life. Then the Mogu were made to protect it long before the Titans became silent and the Mogu lost sight of their mission, becoming the belligerent and cruel people that we now know them as. After the fall of the Empire, the Pandaren moved the capital to the Jade Forest, and the August Celestials sealed the gates to it. It was only with the return of the Mogu and the arrival of the Horde and Alliance that the August Celestials unsealed the gate, so outsiders could help put down the return of the Mogu within the Veil. It is through those gates that we walked together to see a place unimaginably different from when I first laid eyes on it some 6 years ago. Where's the bit with the time, though?
Hold on. Wasn't Mists of Pandaria a decade prior to Dragonflight Universe? Assuming the SLDF timeskip was 5 years, as we heard, does that mean MoP, WoD, Legion, and BFF all happened within the span of a year? So, well, I'm guessing this takes place before Dragonflight, probably during Shadowlands. But they mentioned the Dragon Isles on the Tuskar page. Oh yeah, that. LMAO. In other words, they got the time wrong.
Oh, wait, yes, so the actual tweet reads 6 years between... Oh, yeah, 6 years between when the gates opened in Mists in this book.
Yeah, and in this book they mentioned the Dragon Isles, which happened 10 years after Mists, after the gates were opened.
How do you
get your timeline wrong? That's a good question. I wonder if anyone can answer that.
Is it just because it's like that many expansions in these?
They just didn't do their due diligence. They did not. Because time dilation, absolutely. I'm pretty sure if I go to the Warcraft wiki and I look at the timeline, I'll be able to figure this out. Like,
yeah,
this is the stuff that I think really, it's the stuff that, again, falling under the whole thing of trust and wanting apologies and wanting blood and things like that. People just kind of want to hear, yeah, we're gonna, like Metzen said, you pay good money every month to adventure in this world. We deserve to do right by you.
So exploring Kalimdor was malice.
Yeah, so let's see. Year 30, right? Year 30 is Pandaria discovered by the Alliance and Horde fleets. All of that happens within year 30, except for War Crimes happens in 31. So year 30 is when all of that happens. And then I go down to Dragonflight, which is year 40, which the Dragon Isles weren't, known about in this capacity until year 40. So that's literally and obviously, well, there's Dragonflight is year 40. The source is Steve Denuser on the WoW forums. So you don't get a source more than Steve Denuser saying it. You literally don't. And then let's see what the source for Pandaria's timeline is. Steve Denuser on the WoW forums. So this book disagrees with the lead narrative design of the game.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course it does. There you go.
Okay, so this is obviously one goof. I feel like we need to actually analyze the full book itself, though, to really work out what's going on.
Yep.
Since this is just a few people tweeting at each other.
Yes, there's definitely cases for reading through this. I know I did also see people talk about how, it was Dragovia Knight saying, skin enough the text to be disappointed doesn't sound like Lily at all, regardless of what age. And I'm not sure, I can't actually verify that because I haven't read it, but at the same time, if you can't write a character the way the character was, without at least doing a bunch of time to go, okay, here's the change that happened over 5 or 6 years. That's more or less perfectly fine. It's just like, yeah, it just seems to be a small bit of they can't put the effort in to make sure the details in their books about the lore are right. Which makes you go, well, why would I buy these products if they're wrong? Why would I care about your lore if you don't? And that's the ultimate vibe that this carries on from everything else is, are you just winging it? Are you winging it? Then why should we put anyone near them?
Speaking of which, actually, I went to Warcraft lore, a place that, funny enough, I've forgotten to visit for like over the last year. I used to be in this forum all the time. Has anyone been posting about this? Not really, but I did find a post that I absolutely do think we should cover. As for exploring Azeroth, though, next it's probably going to be Draenor.
Yeah. That'll be cool.
Will they skip it? Because it's not like someone's
probably.
going to go back through that portal.
Probably,
That could be awkward. There is this here on Warcraft lore that I think is enjoyable. It got upvoted a little bit.
Oh yeah, sorry, you're right, Cumber. Yeah, there was a section about a portal to Darnassus being fixed, even though Darnassus was destroyed.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they don't have it in the book that Darnassus was burnt. Let me just see. Let me just double check. War of the Thorns. War of the War of the Thorns.
That's
Where did that happen? When did War of the Thorns happen? Happened in this. Yeah.
Is this them getting confused over the 6-year thing?
So the burning of Teldrassil happened in 33 to 34.
Yeah.
So even if this was 6 years from the opening of the gates,
Yeah.
the burning still had happened. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But I think what it does is just sort of highlights how, Eastern Kingdoms was good. Kalimdor was a mess, and these have just ended up being kind of forgettable.
Which is, I think, personally one of the most disappointing things.
They went very POV and then just kind of did a whole load of nothing.
I was super excited for these. I definitely was initially, and I haven't read any of them through fully because I've just, as soon as people say, I'm like, yeah, why would I care if you don't? And that's the most frustrating thing of all, where if they had, this is probably just fucking pointless blustering, but I feel like I could make one of these better. Outside of the fact, I can't draw, so I wouldn't be able to do any of the cool art. But I feel like I could write better versions of these and be more inclined to get them accurate. And that's the most frustrating part if you never want a fan to think that. Because where does that put you?
Yeah, there is. I'm just going through. There is a mention to to Darnassus.
Yeah, and that just that puts you in this awful place where what do you mean? Whoever is being paid to make sure your lore is correct is getting paid too much and probably shouldn't have a job if this stuff is actually sliding through. And that's the part that's so personally frustrating for investment in a world like this. Because I remember reading War of the Ancients, and I remember reading Lord of the Clans and Rise of the Horde. And I remember being extremely excited about getting more of that world and getting more of that built and getting more of the context behind everything because of the time. And obviously there were issues.
This is just people doing stuff. There's no director. There's no big direction.
There's no direction and there's no care for the product as a whole.
Yeah.
Everyone likes their own individual little piece, but they don't like how the piece fits into a whole. And I think that is exemplified by how different they are and how proud they are. Because I think a lot of these people are very, very proud of what they've done. But the sum of it is bad. In a weird sense. And obviously that's you're okay to feel that to some degree. But I guess that's the thing about, we talked about hyper-individualism just a little bit ago, and individualism versus being part of something. And that's where you can take pride in what you do, but you also need to take pride in what you accomplish together as a team. And there's a lot of things that's happened that they should be very proud of across the entire development team. But whatever way the narrative is unfolding is very much, maybe there's a lack of some sort of lack of democracy in there in terms of how your contribution to the whole feels. Maybe a lot of them are kind of told, well, you can do whatever you want, but it can't interfere with all of this stuff that we're doing. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I don't think it really is, because I know the lore and quest team are pretty close to each other. So it just leaves you sitting there going, well, parts are cool, but I don't want cool parts. I want a cool experience. I want that, like I keep saying, holistic experience. You want everything to be good. You want small parts to be good. And that's where I think, that's where a lot of people who care about the craft of lore and craft of world building and craft of like games specifically endeavor to fall onto the indie side of things so much more.
Yeah.
Because that's where you get things that are more than some other parts.
I mean, if you're interested in games narratives, why would you go into a big AAA team?
Because this is technically,
This seems stifling.
This is unfair to say, because I'm going to frame it negatively because it's the conversation, but because you want this smoke screen of scale and the smoke screen of performances, and like, not to say that good performances from actors can't completely make a game incredible, because they can, definitely. Like, they can make them so unbelievably believable, they're perfect, as evidenced by a lot of like Sony's AAA games. People want to be able to use that as, and sometimes it's like as a muse, the same way Scorsese talks about De Niro and DiCaprio and stuff, as like, oh, working with these people is incredible, and there's a little bit of that. But for people who very much want to like experience the flow of narrative design in video games, they're the people who are making Undertale. They're the people who are making fucking RPG Maker fan games. They're the people who are making indie horror games. And it's like they can do that by themselves, and they can play with interesting things, and they can have multiple endings, all that stuff. And that's what that largely is, because I think the idea of working together as a team closely is a little bit lost. And for good reason, because obviously you can't have complete creative control, and in an individual world that kind of sucks for people. But there's that kind of inherent egotism to it, where it's like you can't drop yourself and be part of something else, which is something I in a whole lot of different contexts, I'm very much watching unfold. Just people being profoundly egotistical rather than being part of something.
Ah, that's hateful.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is. It's a very global phenomenon.
Is it?
The coffin of Andrew and Ashley.
Actually,
I've heard about that, the graveyarder. I've heard about that.
Interesting. See, this is one of those things. I feel like I'd like to know the details here, but I feel like this is going to be an off-stream conversation.
This will be an off-stream conversation, yes.
Oh, good. Let's go.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I mean, funny enough, there are people who are picking up hints about the general stuff I'm talking about in comments and stuff, but I'll not say that. Not in chat in a minute. Not the chat right now. We'll talk about it later anyway. Yes.
What could it mean?
Egotism, individualism is a fucking curse.
What does kick this off? Okay, I don't mean kicked it off in general. That's a bit of a large question.
Yes.
Is there an inciting incident recently?
No.
I see.
Just observations.
Okay.
Just observations.
Interesting. I do know that there are times we do enjoy looking at main character people. You know, main. Yeah. I have been
watching different places and different communities with great interest. For the love of observation, it's been very funny. Very funny.
I'm just going to assume that there's been mad drama in the VTuber world.
No, not really. Not really.
Ah, man.